Okay, you've got Hunter.
Okay, so I guess I call the meeting to order at 6:48. Is that what I need to do? I've never done this before.
Yeah, and then I can do your roll call. Well, I'll just note for the record that currently Melody Baumhover is not present, but plans to be, and you are officially a group of 5 at the moment because Constance and Liz are no longer with SAB, and so you do have all the other members, Laura, Erica, Hunter, and Al. So I can pull up the agenda here. The first thing on your agenda was the Staff Bylaws, and I don't remember who was tasked with working on those. And I don't have my notes in front of me, unfortunately. Does anyone remember? It wasn't me, but even though my name's next to this, I believe that the goal was that the group was gonna keep working on these outside of the meeting and then come back to the group. Erica, was that you who was gonna? I can't remember.
No, I think that was suggested by Liz, the additional changes that she was looking at with water and sustainability and things like that. And with her no longer on the board, I don't know where that leaves it.
I don't either. So, I mean, one option would be to table this until we can connect with Liz, or keep talking about it. I don't know, Laura and Erica, what you prefer kind of as chair and secretary. Do you want to table it for next meeting and then we follow up with Liz?
I suppose it makes sense to see if Liz moved in any direction with it.
Okay.
And then we can table it till next meeting. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's fine. One thing Melody and I noticed last night was the way your current bylaws are written. It says that you are, when you're short, like you are, that your quorum is the majority, which would be 3. The way the new bylaws are written, it says that your quorum is 4, basically no matter what. And so I think one amended thing we want to do is add language that says your quorum is 4 unless your membership is less than 5, in which case then your quorum would be 3. And so on and so forth as you kind of move down the line. Is everyone in support of that?
I'm in this, Hunter. I think that sounds good. Completely reasonable.
Okay. Cool.
Sounds reasonable.
I will follow up with Liz and I'll copy in Laura, you and Melody, and we'll find out where she's at with the bylaws and then we'll pick that up in January.
So I guess this is Erica. One quick question. Did anyone else have concerns with the language of the bylaws other than the participants and the membership?
What do you mean?
I wasn't sure if it was just Liz that was concerned about the language outside of the membership piece.
Oh.
I don't know if anyone else was concerned about that.
I didn't take great notes from our last meeting, so I don't have a lot of notes on that, and I don't recall if there were other concerns. I actually honestly don't even recall like where we were leaving it, which is how little of notes I have.
Yeah, Miranda, from my memory, we were talking about the bylaws. I think Liz brought up that there was bigger concerns for her than just the bylaws, and it was about water, and I think the definition of sustainability related to that. And so that was the reason I think she suggested to table it, because of those larger concerns. And so I'm just wondering if Liz is like no longer, on the board, and if she was the only person concerned about that, it might not be a reason to just kind of keep kicking the can down the street.
I would agree. I mean, I guess that's where I just wonder. I would be curious where Liz left off, and if my gut says because she was moving and had so much going on that maybe she didn't get a chance to work on it. That really all you all need to sort out currently is that membership piece. In which case, I've been strongly recommending you just take a vote on it. and then let's get ready to push them before the Board of Trustees.
I do think that right now the bylaws mostly state that the responsibilities of the SAB are advising the BOT, that most of those responsibilities listed are kind of related to that. And I'm not sure if that is an accurate portrayal of what the SAB actually does. And so this would be a time where we could kind of make it more fit the reality. Where we're doing things like solarize, things that are outside of just advising the BOT. So I don't know if that's important or not, but it doesn't really reflect what the SAB does.
Do you feel like because now Liz isn't here, it's worth maybe somebody else picking it up and running with it to work on those amendments?
I'd be willing to look at it and kind of go over it. I just think if we're going to do this, maybe we should try to get those responsibilities more in line with what the SAB actually does. It just makes sense to me. Because right now it just says that the purview of the SAB is just basically advising the BOT, and it doesn't include a lot of the other things that the SAB does. So I don't know. I mean, if other people don't think that's important, but to me, it seems like it would make sense to try to get those things to align.
I think one recommendation I have is just that one person or two work on this and bring back their amendments versus trying to kind of debate it in a meeting, because then there's at least something to look at. And so, Laura, if you were willing to take the lead on that, I think it was
Sure.
really helpful.
I'll look at that responsibilities section.
Okay.
I already wrote a different mission statement, I think, as an alternative. But yeah, I'll look at it and see, if we can kind of, I haven't been on the board as long as other people, so it might not be complete about the kinds of things that this board does, but I think it makes sense to kind of, I don't know, just have that be accurate, because it doesn't reflect.
I think it would be good to include the alignment with trying to meet the town goals, sustainability goals, and I don't know, maybe if we connected that to envision. But I don't know if once those goals were met, I mean, we'd probably update the bylaws again.
Right. When the way the bylaws are written is that at any point in time you can amend. I think this effort right now is to just streamline, and the Board of Trustees is ultimately not even approving your bylaws. They're just, we just wanted them to look them over, since the advisory boards do report to them in some regards. But yeah, the bylaws are meant to be a moving, changing document.
Okay. Well, so do we want to just go over those? I could kind of put my thoughts down and then send out sort of some draft changes, and then other people could pitch in and we could just try to hammer it out.
Yeah, so just a reminder, you'd have to do that 1-to-1.
Right.
Of the sad part of that. But yeah, I mean, I think that would be really helpful. I know we've kind of gone round and round. It'd be nice. Planning Commission and SAB are the last ones to finish their bylaws, and we'd love if that could be done in January.
Okay.
Cool. So I'll still send out the email to Liz, but Laura, you have a copy of the bylaws, or do you need me to send you anything?
Well, we've had several versions of it where different people have put different possible edits on. So maybe if you could get me the latest one that has some of those edits we've already, kind of had in the mix.
Okay.
That'd be great.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yep. Great. So the next thing, you have a couple discussion items. I'm happy to just give quick, if you don't mind, I can do green business and sustainability coordinator really quick, Laura, and then you guys could start Bobcat Ridge. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's great.
They're super fast. Green business program, the Board of Trustees and the NGDA both supported the program. So we meet with Matt Hannon, with Pace, Macy, and I on Wednesday. From there, we will develop the applications that then businesses apply to that are industry specific on what criteria they would need to meet to be designated as a green business program. We aim to launch those applications in January or early February. We'll run the program for about 3 to 4 months and then host a celebration kind of end of July, early August for the businesses that participated. So we'll keep you updated as that unfolds, but moving forward. And then as I discussed at the last meeting, the sustainability coordinator and when we post is really dependent on the funding by the Boulder County Sustainability Grant. We have not been officially awarded that. Leah did say we should expect to hear by next week at the latest. So as soon as we receive that award letter for the 2022-2023 funding, we will then post the sustainability coordinator position, probably do about a 3-week application period and then get started on the interviewing. I think one thing we'd like to do a little differently than this year than last year is to have just 2 members of SAB look over all the applications and be a part of the initial interviews. And then ultimately the person would still come before SAB for a formal vote. But that requires less public noticing. So if you all were in support, I'd love if just 2 people from this committee could be named to be a part of that application review and hiring committee. Are you open to that kind of 2-person, not having to publicly notice?
I totally support that, and I'd be willing to be on the committee to help out.
We can have 2. So if anyone else wants to join Hunter, we are going to have Cinda Cochin from the Zero Waste Subcommittee will also sit in on the interviews, as well as myself and our HR specialist. So I don't know if anyone else wants to join Hunter. Or put all your faith in Hunter, which I'm also fine with.
I can't take that pressure.
So much. Well, if it's okay, well, I mean, there's obviously time to think about this because we're not going to be posting for another week or 2. But for now, Hunter, I'll keep you in the loop for hiring. But those are my 2 updates. Are there any questions about either one?
Amanda, this is Erica.
Yeah.
So I had a very spontaneous meeting with Derek before from the Green Business Program.
Yeah.
And it was part of my studies in Western. And so he kind of, asked like to be part of this. And I just wanted to see, would you like SAB representation for this Green Business Plan, or where are you guys at with that?
I guess it's up to you. I think that Garrett and I had felt like maybe it made more sense for the clerk department to take it and run with it since we're the closest to the businesses. But if there's a member of SAB, maybe if yourself, Erica, wants to be a part of that, we're more than happy to have that additional support.
Okay. He invited me to your next meeting. So maybe if I show up and just see if it is relevant.
Yeah.
And then if it isn't, maybe I'll step back. Does that sound okay?
That sounds great.
Okay.
Thanks. Cool. Anything else from me? Otherwise, I think Laura, you wanted to add, was it you wanted to add Bobcat Ridge to the, see, I'm like losing my days here.
Well, I just wanted to follow up. Erica, Greg, my husband, and we all did a tour with Kayla and her group to kind of look at the site. And one of the things I took away from that meeting was that Kayla's group really wants to work with the community to meet the needs of the community and to answer questions and address concerns and just really try to make the development something that fits the needs of the town. And so I just wanted to let everyone know that if they have questions or concerns, that group, the Bobcat Ridge group, is more than happy to take your suggestions, think them through, answer questions, address concerns, whatever comes up. Personally, and I wanted Erica to have a chance to speak about her thoughts on it too. It was an interesting tour. I think they're working hard to kind of try to meet the needs of the community. They've been working on this and thinking it through for 10 plus, or maybe, I don't know, 9, 10 years. And so, just to be aware that if someone has questions, concerns, thoughts, suggestions, that group is all ears. They want to try to work with everyone. The site was really interesting. It was kind of a previously dug up area that had been dug. Kayla, you can correct me if I'm wrong on anything here. For a dam that didn't go in, and so it's kind of in a gully, and it's an 18-acre parcel. 10 of it would be with the buildings, and about 8 would be sort of designated for use as dictated, I think, by the town, whether it was a wildlife corridor or wind power area. Trying to think of other things I took away from that. But the main thing I took away was that these guys are trying to do something in a collaborative way with the community to benefit the community, and that, any concerns people have, they want to hear them and they want to talk with people about it. I also know there was a letter that came out today with some points about not leaving the IGA, and I don't know if everyone had a chance to read that, but it had some concerns. So maybe some other people on this board share those concerns. I don't know, but Kayla's here and she can probably answer questions related to that if anyone has them. And Erica, I wanted to pass along to you, since you also went on the tour, to see what your takeaways were.
Yeah, thanks, Laura. I was only able to be there for a short period of time, but got kind of a feel for the land, which was great. And I agree, there has been a lot of communication around some concerns with this intergovernmental agreement and renegotiating that. And so I personally don't feel like I really understand the conflict and the concerns. But I know I'm in Magnolia, and there's a lot of communication around it right now through our local listserv. And I just really appreciated that this is really just one of the first steps to making this project feasible. And Kayla's approach is just really collaborative. Obviously, Kayla's been in the community for a really long time, and just that sense of just really working with everyone and really trying to feed the needs of our community was just over the top, and I just really appreciate that. The area itself is really tucked away, and so yeah, it's going to be a development, but not a lot of it would be visible from the road, which is nice. And it just seemed like there was, again, a lot of collaboration trying to work with the town and really make sure that we all get a development that works for not just new homeowners, but also current residents and workers in our community.
Thanks, Erica. I think that intergovernmental agreement is pretty complex. I did notice in that letter that there was, and I shared, I think, the same concern. Everybody has this concern when we have a new development in the Nederland area, is can the water and sewer handle it? And one thing I learned on the tour was that the plan at this point is to charge the people that would be having the full price condos a premium that would basically add up to about $2 million to renovate, expand, do what needs to be done to make the water and sewer work. So for them, as far as an intergovernmental agreement, my understanding of that is not very deep. I don't know if Kayla would like to speak about that, or anyone else, about
I
what that
would.
means. And okay, beautiful. Sounds good.
Thank you for letting me participate in your meeting tonight. I really appreciate it. For those of you who did go on the little tour with us, anyone else who would be interested in doing that, we're open to showing the property off to anybody. At one point, public service owned what constitutes our ranch. This was supposed to be the original site for Barker Reservoir, but they realized that we were in a glacial field and they couldn't hit bedrock. So that particular draw, which is, it's before the high school, it sort of doglegs. You see the entrance to it, but then it doglegs off to the right. So there would be minimal visual impact from what we're hoping to build. One thing I would like to say is the annexation for some people it's gotten to a point where some people are looking at this as the annexation is happening, so my project can happen. I hope you divorce the two from one another. The town should be negotiating what they want to with the county for the ability to annex whatever, whenever they want to, irregardless or regardless of our project. So for those people who want to tie them together that say, well, let's not renegotiate, let's not do this, let's just stay the way we are based on this project, I think there are two things. We're really putting the horse before the cart. So when you think about renegotiating or dealing with the IGA, or whether you're going to let it lapse, and then whatever you all decide, understand that there is a process. We have to go through a process. Everybody does. And the first step is the fact that regardless of what Susan has written in this lovely long letter, there are forces at work that are not in the letter, and there are self-interests that are not in the letter. And I think before you make decisions based on something like that, it would behoove everyone to get the true facts about things. I'm reading through this letter that says Susan had written is interesting. There's some factual information and there's some innuendo, and there's a lot of other stuff. So I am more than happy to have a conversation. I don't want to take up all of your meeting by dragging these things into the conversation, but just let me say, I have never said that I own this property. It, of course, is owned by my brother and sister. My sister lives in Littleton. She hardly participates. She has a cabin up here on the ranch. She hasn't been here in almost 3 years. My brother, he has his own set of life challenges, and he was a veterinarian in town for many, many, many years, and he is fighting his demons, and it's not his battle. This is not his battle to fight. So I said I would take up the standard to do this. The rest of the ranch, for those of you who don't know, is under a conservation easement. So we decided as a family to do that in the very early 80s after much thought and consideration, and the Boulder Valley School District condemning the property for the high school. What that did is it essentially cut off the area that we're talking about, this 17 acres over there, that we held out of the conservation easement when it initially happened because it wasn't contiguous to any of the rest of the ranch. Little piece of information. So please, I am more than willing and hopeful and look forward to hearing people's ideas and concerns, and the water and sewer certainly is a large consideration, and we have made accommodations for that. When I started this project, one of the first things I did was ask Chris, it wasn't Chris at the time, it was another gentleman, was head of public works. There was more than enough capacity to handle the project that we're talking about. now with the various pieces of development that have happened in the town. Obviously, it has eaten away at the capacity. There's this last paragraph in Susan's letter. She mentions that, let's see, the town water rights attorney recently told the BOT he estimated the town had enough water for about 85 new indoor taps. Fewer if outdoor taps were included. In June 2019, Pelletier said an applicant was hoping to build 32 apartments averaging 800 square feet in town. Okay, that's been now almost 3 years ago. You're telling me that that capacity is lessened because of an application that happened 3 years ago that we don't even know is happening, and where in the world is there space in the town of Nederland to put 32 apartment buildings unless you go up crazy? If it's Ron's project, well, there you go. It might be happening and it might not be happening. So we actually are still an applicant. Our application has never gone by the wayside. When we approached the planning board initially, they did reject us, but what Susan neglects to say is she doesn't talk about the second time we came back with more information with the planning board, and they then liked the idea and sent it on to the town. Our meeting with the county when we proposed this, they didn't approve and they didn't deny. They wanted more information also. They wanted more things clarified. So we all just got up and walked out of the room. We have been in limbo with the county for several years. And we did wait and wait and wait to get whatever information the county wanted us to clarify. It never happened. And we fell through the cracks with a former town administrator. So we've been diligently working on this project for many, many years. It has changed in scope and number based on the economics, based on Boulder County bringing their project up to town and eliminating us from the CHAFA grant process, because they will only grant to one project per town. So we had to come up with an alternative way of financing it, and that was the idea for the townhouses. So yes, it has grown in size, but that was a necessity for affording the project and also creating product that it is needed also in this community. So there's many, 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 many things I could qualify. I'm happy to do so. I won't take any more of your time, but I do appreciate you letting me speak to you, and Merry Christmas to everybody. Stay happy, stay healthy, love your families, and if you have any questions, I couldn't be more available. So thank you, and if you have any questions right now, I'm happy to answer them. So thank you, Miranda. Thank you, Laura. Thank you guys for inviting me to your meeting. Anybody there?
Thanks for coming, Kayla. I think it's helpful to just, learn from you, how these, just your viewpoint on what the issues are with this, the concerns that people bring up. So it's a good conversation. Thank you for being so willing to answer questions.
Always. Does anybody have any questions right now, or maybe later? Not today, but later.
Hey, Kayla, this is Erica.
Hi, Erica.
Hi, I was just going to suggest, since there was just a few of us at that last field trip.
I can kind of hear you, but you break up, so I didn't understand what you said.
Oh, sorry. It might just be tough for me to talk. I'll put it in the chat.
Okay.
Kayla won't be able to see the chat, Erica, but I can read whatever you type in here.
Questions?
I think Erica might be typing a question in the chat.
I think she's viciously typing.
Yeah,
Okay.
We just need a minute here. Sorry about that.
So that's going to come up. She's sending it to me through my computer.
Here it is. It says,
Yeah, go ahead, Laura.
I was just going to suggest that we schedule another field trip for interested SAB members, but also ProSab and any other town folks that are interested.
There are 2 ProSab members who didn't make it to the walkthrough as well, and I've reached out to them. I don't know, Kayla, if you want to name, I know you've been very open to like letting other people name the date and time, or if you want to name a date and time.
No, I'm good. I will make myself available. So, you know, we're starting to, I mean, let's hope we get weather, you know, so it's too snowy to walk back up in there right now. But, you know, right now the weather's held. So if anybody wants to do it between now and sometime between Christmas and New Year's when the weather still looks good. And is the Hunter in your group, is this Hunter Wright?
Yep.
Yes.
Hi,
Hey,
baby.
hey. Hi, I'm sorry I missed the
No,
the
that's okay,
walkthrough
Brent.
before, but I sent
okay.
Brent.
Brent was
And
there,
was-
and he loved it, so it's all good.
Yes, he came back and he was very impressed and he was excited about it. So
Terrific.
thank you for that.
Yeah.
Well, Hunter, I'll throw you on the email, and I don't think Melody didn't make it, correct?
No, she did not.
Okay. I'll throw it on. I'll just send a ProSab email, and we'll try to line up a time and then connect back with you, Kayla.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you, guys. Again, everybody have a healthy, happy holiday. Okay.
Happy
Thanks,
holidays.
Kayla.
Okay. I'm going to sign off. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay. So, yeah, go ahead, Laura.
Oh, the next thing on the agenda, I guess, was just that I did get onto the BBSD Sustainability Advisory Board. So I think that'll be interesting just because, you know, 2 of the biggest organizations kind of in the town are the schools. So maybe there's some ways to work together. And as we saw with the composting, even though it's run into some hiccups, but maybe we can find some ways for us to just work together with the school district and, you know, just learn what they're doing and see how it all fits together. So that's a quarterly meeting. And when it happens, I will kind of report to this group about it. And that's it. That's all I have for that.
Congrats, Laura. That's great.
Congratulations. That's good. Great news.
Thank you.
I think the next thing on the agenda is climate emergency resolution. Have folks had a chance to look at that?
Erica, I couldn't hear what you were saying.
Maybe this isn't gonna work. Just a second.
Well, I was going to ask even, Erica, did you send something out? Because I'm not so sure I got anything if you tried to send something.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay, awesome. Sorry, my kiddo is watching TV. So we sent this out a few months ago.
Okay.
And so, yeah, and there hasn't been any changes made to it. Let me see if I can pull it up really quick. Does everybody have a copy of this?
Are you sharing screen right now?
No, but you know I can. Just a second here.
Or
All
do you
right.
remember when you sent it?
You know, this was Garrett, so it's been a bit.
I guess I'm just wondering if every member of this board was even like on the board when he sent it.
Yeah, I'm not totally sure. I'll share it with you guys.
Yeah, will you? And I know the listserv is a little funky. So if you share it with me, I can then kick it onto the group. So will you just share it directly to me?
Yeah.
We're sadly having some listserv problems again.
So Garrett did the rough draft of this. He worked with Dave from the county. Town admin. Miranda?
What's that? Sorry. Yeah, perfect.
I just shared it with you.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm going to make this a bit bigger. Hopefully you guys can see it. So the idea of this was actually stemmed from a conversation with Alan in August, and then we talked to Garrett about it. And Garrett did the rough draft and worked with Dave from the county. And basically, it's just to like reiterate that's the urgency of climate change. I know for myself, this really stemmed out of the IPCC report, that the sixth assessment that was just recently published, and basically saying the 1.5 degrees Celsius is almost out of reach. We are undoubtedly going to go surpass that number, and that's the tipping point of catastrophic climate change, as most models have predicted. And so the whole point of this was to really just bring up, again, this urgency of the climate crisis. And if you go through it, it talks about this 1.5 degrees Celsius, the IPCC report. We've already seen extensive damage from climate change. Boulder County is going to have as many as 75 days over 96 degrees Fahrenheit by the 21st century. Previously, that was just a few. And then, really just want to just reiterate that we support radical action. And so our BOT in the past has proven the support of things like this, with the mayor's signature of the climate crisis, and then also with our 100% resolution. So if you guys have things to add to this, I think it would be good to have a vote on this resolution. It sounds like at this point we should wait another meeting and vote on it in January and move it to the Board of Trustees. If someone doesn't think that we need to do that, if you guys have seen this and you feel okay to vote on it now, I'm happy to do that as well. Garrett does have a comment here that this needs review. The Nederland Board of Trustees supports zero waste efforts, renewable energy, energy efficiency, reducing internal combustion engines, furthering multimodal transportation options, electrification of buildings, carbon sequestration, and sustainable circular economy. We ask the Nederland Board of Trustees pass this resolution to raise awareness of the significant threat that climate change has on each of its residents, and in support of the dramatic efforts that must be made to reach a safe and stable climate before irreversible climate catastrophe occurs. So I think the whereas that's in yellow is appropriate. There might be some things we can add to that, but I'd love to hear what you guys think.
This is Hunter. I feel like this is very timely. I feel like if we could get this, I feel comfortable voting on it. And if we could get this before the Board of Trustees for the January meeting. I mean, I just feel like climate change is so obvious, and the fact that we haven't had any snow and that there are 30 tornadoes and hundreds of people dying. I mean, we're already witnessing catastrophic change. So I support this. I think the more communication from SAB on, encouraging the board to take action whenever they can, then we should.
Thanks, Hunter.
You're welcome.
Alan, are there any edits that you would like to see?
I like it. I think the thing to me that it's maybe lacking is what people can do. I mean, it does say what Nederland supports. And maybe it's, unrealistic to think we could have something that encourage individuals to do X, Y, and Z. But, I'm generally supportive. I do think there's still a real lack of information in the media about what the local consequences are of climate change. And that is contained in this. And maybe, in addition to having it go before the BOT and have it get passed, would be good to have something, letters to the editor, posting in the Netheads, Facebook, things like that, to get the information out there. I think we generally have a community that's empathetic and sympathetic and concerned, and then we have a minority that's not. I don't know how big that minority is.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Alan, that we should add, tangible things our residents can do. And we have had different Earth Day lists. I was just going through my drive because it's way too full. But I found the 50 things that you can do. I think we did that for Earth Day a few years ago. We can maybe pair that and make it even more personal to Netherlands. But even like, SunShare and Solarize and, all those local things that we have, we can make a quick list of that and pair it with this. We
Yeah,
just now,
if you have a list like that, you can share with us.
yeah, I can see if I can pick that up. We just now don't have our sustainability coordinator to like follow up on these things.
I have to say that on a related issue, that I was surprised that some people in the community gave me blowback on having Garrett on staff. And, I think that people don't quite understand what a sustainability coordinator does or can do, and the relevance to what the town is trying to do. So that indicates to me that we need to connect some dots, because Garrett did a fantastic job, and some people miss that.
Well, were they not? That's like mind-boggling to me. I'm sorry. I don't understand it. I mean, he did updates. Were they not? I mean, was it coming from people who were not attending board meetings? Or, I mean, he did updates in the paper. Like, I don't understand. I mean, I don't know. I just don't understand and maybe this could be a topic for discussion on our January agenda, but how, do we not communicate? I mean, it seemed like he had a laundry list of wins over the short time that he was with us. I mean, I felt like he was amazing, and it's shocking to me that people can't see everything that he had done, So
Yeah,
maybe that's on us, or is it just that they're not plugged in and they're not paying attention?
I think it's not being plugged in and not paying attention. And then, I think what happens is with SAB and those of us that are supportive, we are real tuned in, but a lot of people are not. And it just points out to me that we need to do a better job of communication. and publicity. And he did do some reports in the Mountaineer. And, you know, I do think that's just a function of communication.
Like on Ned Heads or
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mountaineer,
Yeah.
Netheads,
yeah, Mountaineer.
making sure that whoever ends up in that position again communicates more frequently with the DOT.
Yeah. Okay.
But he was speaking really frequently with the DOT, wasn't he, Alan? Like he was presenting to you guys almost every month on some type of issue.
Yeah, I certainly reported on what he was doing to the DOT on a regular basis.
Okay, so you were the spokesperson. So it sounds like having having a sustainability coordinator as town staff would mean that they would have updates at BOT meetings, right? That's like institutionally part of BOT meetings. So that would be an important piece as far as being able to get more people aware of what's happening around sustainability.
Yeah, I do think that going forward, we should make that an important, you know, make it a standard part of the process. I mean, you know, maybe some people have unrealistic expectations of that position, and I'm not taking anything away from Gary. I think he did a fantastic job. He did a phenomenal job, and we accomplished a lot with SAB. And I just think we need to publicize it better, because, you know, some people just don't get it. What do you think, Miranda, as an outside observer?
I would agree. I think there's maybe more opportunity. I would argue maybe we don't use informational items as a board as well as we do. We could, like, for example, election season, every single board meeting, I'm giving some sort of update, even if it's really minor. And I think there could be benefit, and not only SAB and ProSAB, but maybe at least once a month, even doing a quick write-up of what's going on. So it's kind of that repetition. And it's not just, you know, maybe it's on the off meetings from Alan's trustee report, that first meeting of the month, SAB is giving an update. And we just kind of constantly push the message of what's going on before the Board of Trustees, because I do think they're failing to see what's happening behind the scenes unless it requires a resolution. Then it's kind of in their face because Garrett brought it to them. But there's so much that does not require a resolution to act. You know, like Laura being on that committee, I think that's huge, and taking the opportunity to just put that in an informational aim, I think could be really beneficial. And you don't necessarily have to go over it word for word, but it's something the board could read every month. Is here's like the awesome thing SAB's doing.
What if we
Yeah,
did like a weekly social post, like Sustainability Sunday or SAB Sunday, and it had like a fun fact, or it even had like some sort of small call to action of, you know, a different focus, like water conservation or composting or little, you know, I mean, I don't know how, I'm not.
Yeah. No, I think Hunter, that's a great idea. Like we do Mitigation Monday and Throwback Thursday, and Peter's always looking for ideas, and he schedules posts to go out in advance on the
Yeah.
weekend. So we're posting every single day, and we'd love to do like a sustainable Sunday. We would really need SAB to feed the material, and really all it is like sending Peter a link, being like, "Hey, can you do this for Sustainability Sunday?" And he'll pull it together. But I love that, because then that's also like that repetition of information.
Well, and even like announcing about Laura, you know, and like, did you know?
Yeah.
And talk about Laura being on the BVSD sustainability board, and like do, you know, a couple talking points about that and have a link, you know, and so people can learn about that, and, you know, bragging about
our
accomplishments.
Yeah, some of the things that were tried, like composting.
Yeah.
And the challenges. Yeah, and I do think that, excuse me, Barbara Hart and the Mountaineer are very cooperative in terms of getting information in the paper.
Yeah,
So
she's
anytime you
great.
want to do a letter to the editor or a news piece, she's very open to doing that. And then we just have to make sure it goes onto the Facebook places where people are more likely to see it, because there aren't that many people there aren't as many people that read the Mountaineer or subscribe to it. And I think that Garrett was doing a lot all the time, nonstop. And sometimes he didn't get the grant, but he put a huge amount of effort into getting a grant, going after it. But
Mhm.
then he might not, sometimes he didn't get the grants. So I think it's just saying, here's the activity that is going on and recognizing it.
Agreed. So is there someone who would maybe want to team up with Peter to start to kind of brain, or who wants to maybe serve as this like PIO of SAB?
Well, I think this resolution about the climate crisis is a perfect opportunity as a test run to see how much publicity we can ramp up for that resolution and where we can get coverage of those issues
Mm-hmm.
in the media and on our website. So, I mean, Erica has this list she can share with us that individuals can do, and then there's some really good information and some of those whereases that might get lost in the legalese that need to be put into plain English. They could go into the newspaper or onto Facebook. You start talking about that number of 90-degree days, and I just read something in the high country news recently that said that already in the Mountain West, we are experiencing, on average, 34 fewer snow days than we have historically. That's already happening. I mean, that's a whole month of no snow, and we're certainly seeing it this year, but it's been going on for a while. Spring's coming earlier, winter's coming later.
Miranda and all, I wonder, oh, Melody's here. Hi, Melody. I wonder if this social media stuff, I do this for my day job, and it's a lot. I'm surprised Peter's doing it all because he's doing such a great job. But if we could just send things to Peter as they come up.
Mm-hmm.
So if we get a really cool climate icon, or we have like an interesting post or something cool happen, we could just send it to Peter directly and he can put it into the queue. And then maybe he could email stab@netherlandsco.org when he needs more additional context. And then we could all kind of shoot it to him. Would that work? And then it wouldn't be on one person?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I will send Peter an email just letting him know. Actually, I have a one-on-one with him on Wednesday. I'll just connect with him and let him know this is a goal of ours. And then, yeah, I mean, that's kind of how we do it now for like Mitigation Monday or really anything that's kind of got that thematic, is that he does a great job of trying to get the post out a couple of weeks in advance. And then anything you send him, unless it's really timely, he'll just kind of add it into the mix.
Yeah, and we could just maybe get a news bulletin string going.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't have to be a lot of content, a few sentences.
Well, we could also promote, our 2 board openings and try to solicit some applications, unless we've already got some.
You have none, and so yeah, being down 2 is tough. So reach out to your networks and have them.
speaking of that, Alan, we heard through the grapevine that you are going to be moving from the BOT and may have interest in joining SAB. And when would that happen, and how do we make sure you have a spot?
I would definitely be interested, and I'm not sure when I'm resigning. I mean, my term goes until April. And right now, I'm definitely planning to stick around until February. And I guess, just to be honest, I'm going to see what's going on and what's coming up, and you know, if I should stay on longer or not. So I'm a little up in the air, so that makes it difficult to say right now that I could, you know, move over to SAB when I'm going to be on the BOT until at least February 1st.
Okay. Well, keep us in the loop, Alan, as you decide more. And then just, I know you know this, but the longer we can have you on the BOT, whatever, if I can like make you food and like bring you dinners and so you can stay on the BOT, let me know. I'll support you however I can.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, there are things, you know, in the works other than the IGA. There's also the mine, which I've been spending a lot of time on, interacting with the county and the state, making sure that they're regulated, because the potential for pollution is tremendous when you're talking about processing 70,000 tons of ore per year. So that's something I want to keep my eye on, among other things. And you know, this, as Melody listed in the agenda, some people are concerned about the right to bear arms, and I'm concerned about the right to arm bearers. That was a joke.
I'm laughing. I was just on mute.
You stumped everyone, Alan. I mean, yeah, I don't know if you wanted to jump to that topic. Or I
I
guess
think that's a reference to the rights of nature, I suspect.
yeah, do you, I mean, I guess just to kind of close up the previous topic, Erica, you're thinking give people time to look over that resolution though, correct? And then bring that back in January.
You know, we didn't hear from Laura, and Melody's here, so Hunter had said that she would be ready to vote. I'm assuming Alan would be as well. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I'd like to just give Laura and Melody a chance to share their opinions, and if more time would be helpful, or if they think it's good just to vote on it now and move it to the BOT faster.
Well, I think I shared my opinion. I am supportive, and you know, I just think it's important that it just be leveraged. And you know, what we think is obvious is not. So I think, you know, the more information we can get out there about what is happening and what is projected to happen, and then what we can do about it, I think is all important. It has to be a call to action, I guess is what I'm saying.
I'm in support of it. I agree with Alan. I kind of feel like if there was some kind of concrete, I don't know, maybe even an ask from the BOT saying, hey, here's where things stand. It's not looking good. And because of that, we would like to see money dedicated to, you know, some project, something concrete. I think there's an appetite for action in the BOT. So I don't know. I mean, what's there is fine. I just don't know if there's a way to leverage it to try to, I don't know, move the needle a little bit.
Could it be an opportunity to ask the BOT to commit to supporting the sustainability coordinator position? Like, I know that, you know, once we get the grant, they'll match that. But maybe if we had that in writing, I don't know. Because I feel like a sustainability coordinator is, I mean, it's imperative. I mean, I don't know how we could reach our goals without one. And it feels like pulling teeth getting support from the BOT on this position. I don't know if I'm misreading it.
No, it's definitely an uphill battle. I do think we've got support for what we have, but moving beyond what we have is not going to happen anytime soon. I don't think, unless we can come up with specific concerns and goals.
Alan, is there something that you think that we could suggest to the BOT that they would support based on
Well, I
the
do.
kind of,
The good news is the BOT does support the position and
Right.
does support matching it and did agree with increasing the salary. So there was a lot of support. But, you know,
So
we
did
couldn't,
they make it a full-time position? Did I miss that?
no, that's the part we didn't get.
Yeah, no, it's part-time, approximately 20, 25 hours. No, it was, it was one of the 4 positions that was put before the board to consider full-time funding, but ultimately the board landed on funding the parks manager.
Miranda, can you explain how they landed on the parks manager?
I think that it was identified that they wanted to invest in creating a parks department, and that was kind of the first step in getting there. And so the intention when we head into 2023 budget is to break out the park. So it is entirely its own department headed by a parks manager. And that it felt like amongst the board members who wanted that, it felt like we have tons of assets. Town is actually going to acquire the rink and tennis courts. And so there's a lot of different opportunities to work through the assets we have. And that in order to be successful in doing so and like working on creating a pump track and enhancing the rink and tennis, we needed a manager to oversee that.
And doing a good job of connecting trails from town to Mud Lake and completing the project down by the reservoir. But I think those were seen as more urgent than things with the sustainability side of the fence. And I certainly did my utmost in lobbying people individually as well as at meetings, and I just couldn't get more than a half-time position because of the support for the parks position. So I do think people see the parks position as being a sustainable orientation that will have great benefits to the natural environment, which is a good thing. But it ended up undercutting the sustainability coordinator position.
Yeah, it's I know that makes sense, and I think it's a win, right? It's not the win we wanted, but it's still a win. And I just to like circle back, I mean, we've come a long ways with this conversation. We didn't have a coordinator years ago.
Yeah,
And
I
now
think just even having a part-time coordinator at a better salary is a big plus. It's huge.
Yeah, it's huge. And then I wanted to circle back to the resolution. So one of the important things I've seen with resolutions like this is that it becomes a leverage point on its own. So for example, doing the Boulder County Sustainable Matching Grant application, we put in resolutions like this because they become like guiding documents for our community. And so then we can push back on those for certain things that align with those resolutions. So I like the idea of having an action item, but I also don't think it has to be paired with a specific action item. I think it almost becomes related to any sustainability related action item moving forward.
You know, one thing that occurs to me is that we have items that come before the BOT as discussion items. And maybe this becomes a discussion item before it comes up as an action item. And it gives the SAB an opportunity to discuss it with the BOT. If people are interested in doing that. It is another meeting, so.
Yeah, Alan, I would be happy to go before the BOT and to talk about the birth of this resolution and why it's different than others that we've signed on to, and could do like a brief summary to the IPCC report. I know Mayor Larson's already very familiar with it, but there might be some other members that aren't necessarily as familiar with what came out of that report specifically. I would be happy to do that. Are you thinking like a 5-10 minute? Are you thinking less or more?
Well, I think the discussion items probably, what do you think, Meredith? 30 minutes? 20, 30 minutes?
Yeah, I think that'd be appropriate. So you want to put this on the January 4th as a discussion? Is that the feeling?
That would work for me. I don't know if others would be interested. I think the more people we have, stronger the discussion will be.
Is that too soon after the holidays, or is that okay? Is that a good time?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an empty meeting because it's after the holidays, so I think it would be appropriate.
Okay.
Would anyone else be interested in talking to the BOT that night? I'm happy to do it on my own too, but it would just having like multiple of us talking in one meeting would just be a great thing as far as this topic.
And we could try to schedule it earlier in the meeting rather than later. I don't know how big that agenda is. How's it look?
So yeah, I was actually just pulling it up. So we're gonna we'll talk elections. That's informational. Mayor Larson did want to discuss the local disaster emergency declaration because COVID is sadly our life. Maybe that doesn't serve the same purpose anymore. We'll have the subdivision ordinance, and then we may or may not have bear-proof containers. So we could, anytime we have external, we try to get you on first. And so we could add this as a discussion item and get it on as the first discussion item. It will come after the action item of subdivisions. But that being said, the Board of Trustees has already talked about subdivisions. So that ideally should be a super fast agenda item.
I just realized I have a conflict. I was supposed to go to do something with my son in Fort Collins that night.
Do you want to do the 18th instead?
Yeah, let's do the
There's
18th.
nothing on the 18th right now.
Okay, yeah, let's do the 18th.
Okay. Great. It's on.
Okay. And then to circle back, Melody, how do you feel about voting on this tonight?
Yeah, I think it's great. And I was just going to chime in and say I can present with you if you want on the 18th.
That'd be great.
Yeah, let me see if, before we nail it down, let me see if I can get out of my commitment on the 4th and make sure the 18th is cleared. And
Do you want me to tentatively move it to the 4th, Alan, just so it's at least, because I'm going to talk to Mayor Larson on Wednesday about the meeting on the 4th. Should I maybe tentatively plan for that, or are you thinking 18th?
Yeah, I'll get back to you tomorrow.
Okay, that sounds great.
Okay.
So for those of you that want to have action items with this, are you okay if we move it forward as is, and we could discuss some action items when we have the discussion with the BOT?
You mean,
Hunter.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand what you were saying.
Yeah, I just want to make sure Hunter and Laura feel like their voices are being heard and that they're getting what they want out of this resolution. I hear the request for an action item, and I think we could add that. My take is that, we could have that potentially in the discussion as well. And again, this becomes this leverage point for future things that we ask for. So asking for sustainability coordinator, full-time town staff, we then, speak to this resolution in January of 2022. We speak to the 100% resolution, we speak to the zero waste, et cetera, et cetera. But I just want to make sure you guys feel okay with that before we do any kind of vote.
Did you say that you thought that the action item, it's hard to hear you a little bit, the action item would be asking for a full-time sustainability coordinator?
It could be, Laura. My suggestion is that we don't do that, and that
Okay.
when we do have that specific ask, we leverage this. We quote
Right.
this resolution.
Yeah, I
as
feel
a
like the
reason why.
BOT just discussed that quite a bit, and they're not going to be super interested in discussing it again right after they just discussed it. And so I'm wondering if we can come up, what?
Yeah, I agree. I think the decision is made.
And I think it's a little tough because the budget was just passed. Like, now is not the time to be asking for funds that don't exist within the budget.
Okay, so there's nothing, that's good information, and we really aren't in a position timing wise to say, hey, could we, I don't know exactly, we'd have to talk about what we thought would be a good action item, but it's not a good time to do that, is what you're saying? Right
Yeah,
now,
I mean,
because
I think if we were to do a revised budget, which we anticipate doing twice a year in May and November, that might be the time. But of course, town's going to need to be in a good financial position to ask for that. But yeah, right now there's no money to give, so that it doesn't make sense to do that ask.
Okay, thank you. Then I don't think that that's relevant right now. But I do think that this group, I mean, generally, that we should have a kind of on our horizon is like what specific resources do we need to kind of do some concrete do some concrete on the ground type actions, because I just think that there's an appetite for that. I think, to me, it seems like a really important communication point, that somebody like Garrett actually is bringing in more money through grants than what he's being paid. I just think that just talking to BOT members, there's an appetite for action, like, buy some solar panels or, invest in some kind of, composting system or something. And so I think if whatever we decide, whatever direction, I think it would be good to leverage something like this, this list that Erica has, while we're trying to, do some concrete on the ground kinds of things. But now is not the time to ask for that. So I take that back for now. But I think if we can be aware of when the budget times are right and just try to be like, okay, here's our goal for right now. Let's see if we can get some resources from the BOT to go for it.
I completely agree, Laura. Sorry, Alan. I was just gonna say that you know, I just didn't want us to lose momentum because it kind of, you know, I feel like the position is so important, and I know that the board just voted on it and there isn't money in the budget, but this isn't, I completely agree it's not the right time to put it in the resolution, but this is a really good opportunity for us to be kind of campaigning going forward. And, you know, we've got Garrett had we've planned some things in the summer with composting and providing composting for businesses and recycling hard to recycle items on a monthly basis. And I think the residents are going to kind of start seeing some of these projects coming to fruition as a result of the grants. And that's why it's going to be really important for us to push it on social and just really increase awareness, so people can tie that back to the sustainability coordinator position and be like, oh, well, you know, these projects have come to fruition because we got funding through the sustainability coordinator. And these are what some of the projects that they were able to, you know, create and get started. So
That's the crux of it, I think, is what have they accomplished, kind of concrete accomplishments, whether it's getting grant money, you know, we have 20 new solarized houses, you know, those really concrete pieces, because I don't know, that's just the sense I've gotten. I've in some of the BOT meetings I've been in, people are saying, you know, we want concrete sorts of action. And so the sustainability coordinator is sort of one step away from that on its face, but it becomes closer and closer to action if we can describe what the person is actually accomplishing very clearly and often.
yeah. And the green business program, once that's launched too, I mean, that was something that Garrett created. So, I mean, I think it's been a lot of planning, but we're about to see a bunch of things start, you know, coming to fruition that we could really promote. So,
Yeah, maybe somehow we put in the resolution things that have been accomplished, solarized, funding for zero waste, which will result in composting opportunities, you know, things like that.
I don't know the very latest on what happened with the schools being able to compost, that whole system that Liz worked on. But I mean, that is an SAB, as long as it's still working. There was kind of a moment where they had to stop it. I think they were getting too much compost, but hopefully it's back up and running. But they, you know, and I'll work with BBSD on that too. But to get both of those schools composting and getting, I guess it's the Green Star, I think is the designation, but that's a big accomplishment. That's two big bunches of people composting every, you know, much of the year. That's a good one. So, like I said, it may not be working right now. It was working for a short period of time, and then there was sort of a moratorium on it because I think they were getting overloaded. But that's one of the things I really want to try to work with them on at BABSD on, is refining that, because Liz really got the ball rolling there. So any kind of concrete accomplishments that are out there, I think, are useful, whether it's the sustainability coordinator or just the SAB in general. I think that's what's going to pave the way for, you know, support.
And I do think there'll be more grant opportunities with federal and state money coming our way. So when we get a coordinator hired, there should be some immediate opportunities that will help us address climate change.
I think that's very important too, that infrastructure money, you know, that the coordinator helps us access those funds and helps us be organized and ready to take advantage of the federal policy. You know, I think that's another point that in favor of the sustainability coordinator, or just practical points that help move the needle, I think are going to be the most salient. Again, not right now. That I think the discussion's over for now.
Yeah.
Alan, do you want to talk more about your agenda item rights for bears, wildlife? Is there anything else to add to
You mean the
that?
rights of nature?
It's under rights for bears, wildlife, but is it the rights of nature?
Yeah, well, actually, what the BOT passed was a rights of nature resolution that would protect the watershed and the ecosystem. So, the benefits accrue to wildlife as well, since they share the water with us. I did get some pushback about that. What's ironic, I think, is, we wrestled with, should it be a resolution or should it be an ordinance? There's actually, if you go on the internet and plug in rights of nature, you'll see there's an international movement with countries, Bolivia and I think Ecuador have signed on to it in their constitutions. And then, there are other towns, cities who are interested in the concept. So I think the timing is good in that respect. Part two of it is how do you implement it? And Gary Walkner, who is the head of Save the Colorado and Save the Pooter and a variety of organizations, and has been helping to push the notion of rights of nature and the rights of the ecosystems, has an implementation resolution that I'll bring to the SAB to look at. But the idea is that you have three guardians of the watershed who help to keep an eye on the watershed and what the status of the watershed is overall. Advocates. And, we did a resolution rather than an ordinance because people were concerned we didn't want to get involved in litigation around the watershed. And we also didn't want people to think that we were necessarily anti-dam, or I shouldn't say anti-dam, anti-water rights, because we do want to retain our water rights. Although how we store that water remains to be seen. And we just did that, and then people thought, why do we need to be thinking about the watershed? Well, then we discover we have the Gold Cross mine, who already has approval to process 70,000 tons of ore a year up at Caribou Townsite area, 200 tons a day, and they're already polluting, putting water into the watershed that contains lead and other metals. So, which could, if the volume increased significantly, it could end up in Middle Boulder Creek and the reservoir. So it's kind of ironic, I think, that we passed the rights of nature to protect the watershed, and then we discover there's somebody already polluting in the watershed. And the mayor and I are going to be meeting with the county. The state has already intervened and given a cease and desist order, so the mine cannot continue to pollute, and the mine is saying they're going to install a much better water treatment facility to mitigate the pollution that will come from the mine. And then, the discussion has become, should it be an ordinance? Is it possible to have an ordinance to protect our watershed, which might involve litigation? So those are some of the other things that are going on around the rights of nature. But people who are opposed to the idea initially had some fun with, which animals have rights up there and which don't. Some people felt like humans don't have enough rights, so why should we be giving rights to wildlife, and so on and so forth. So it was an interesting debate. Anybody have any questions about it? or, you know, what are your thoughts about this notion of having guardians, some of whom might come from SAB, to help monitor what's going on in the watershed? I guess nobody has any spare time to be a guardian, that's for sure.
Alan, I had a quick question, and perhaps I just didn't read thoroughly enough, but how does this solution come to folks' attention
Pardon
in the
me?
first place?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
So how did this solution come to folks' attention in the first place? How did they find it?
Well, you know, when I found out there was a mine up there that had this kind of massive approval dating back 10 years, I was immediately concerned about whether or not it was being monitored. So I contacted the county as well as the state and asked them for reports on what was going on in terms of, you know, monitoring. And you know, I'd heard from Gary Walkner. He's the head of another organization, I forget, Boulder Water Keepers, I think it's called. And they had heard that there was pollution going on. It was ongoing, and the state and the county had not done anything about it. And that's how it came to my attention. So I followed up to see what was going on, and it turned out the state discovered the mine was not doing what they're supposed to do, which is test their water and file reports with the state, proving that what they were emitting was clean and up to state and federal standards. So that's kind of how the whole process evolved. And then, you know, the state has since had a hearing. The mine has been told they will be fined $2 a day starting June 1st, and they've been asked to put up, I think, $132,000 in a bond to cover potential damages. And that's where it stands right now.
Good job instigating that, Alan. That's huge. Wow. Has
Well,
there
given
been
the
any... Go ahead.
given the track record of mining in our state, I immediately got alarmed and wanted to make sure that there was due diligence in place, since the Watershed and the project is going to be massive at some point. And I think what I heard was they have at least 30 people working up there now. So, and the guy that owns it has very deep pockets, and part of it is owned by a Canadian mining company. So this is not like Tom Hendricks. This is a major, well-funded operation who hopefully will do the right thing, which is what they say they want to do. So anyway, the watershed does need mining.
So what does monitoring the watershed mean exactly?
Yeah, we gotta, you know, I think that what we are really talking about is vigilance. You know, I think we could be, and given what's going on right now, a guardian would probably be in touch with the state and the county and keeping an eye on what's going on with the mine. I mean, that would be something that I would think would be a goal of a guardian at the moment. And then, you know, I think that when it comes to other things, you know, the watershed's big. It goes all the way up to the Continental Divide. And I don't know what other, you know, I guess if you're a nation, you've got plenty of resources. I don't know what other towns or counties or cities that have done rights of nature ordinances, how they're handling the kinds of evaluation that would need to take place, because I would think we get into the scientific arena pretty quickly. We certainly monitor the water we get out of Boulder Creek and what kind of water we're supplying to the town. And so, Nederland is doing a great job of giving really good water to residents. So that's a particular thing that the town's already doing. What are the things we would want to do? I don't know, but I need more information. But I'll obviously keep SAB in the loop on the implementation of the rights of nature potential, making it an ordinance rather than upgrading it from a resolution to an ordinance, which is something we're talking about. But, the primary goal is protect our water supply.
Thanks, Alan. That's huge. I keep thinking about the idea that corporations are interpreted as persons, right? Corporate personhood is a whole concept.
Right.
And if we can really tie that to nature, right? Like this natural personhood or the rights of nature to personhood, and use that same language, it just seems like it's more appropriate now than ever. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
I had one quick thing just to add. We're through the agenda at this point, and so if there's other things for folks to add, we've got about 25 more minutes if we want to use that time. But I was on a CC4CA meeting this probably 2 weeks ago, and they discussed this running topics that they'd like to start doing. And so if they do that, I will keep you guys in the loop, but they're going to take on various topics that are of interest to different communities that are part of CC4CA. And I could see it being really helpful for us as far as being able to understand more of Excel and what our rights are, or building codes, or various topics that can be tough when you don't work on them all the time. And so if you guys are interested, I'll try to share those with the staff board when they do become available.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I just participated in lobbying the Public Utilities Commission about Excel. I don't know how many of you heard about their clean energy plan they just came up with, but essentially it does make great strides compared to what they originally planned to do. But the bottom line is they want to continue to burn fossil fuels until 2050 and build new natural gas facilities to burn natural gas and keep their coal-fired power plant in Pueblo running. And as ratepayers, we all get handed the bill for that. So I did, with CC4CA, teamed up with them and wrote a letter on behalf of Nederland and just said, we're not going to make our goal of 100% renewable energy in 2025 primarily because of itself. And we certainly need to do much better than waiting, another 30 years to have clean energy when other utilities are doing it much sooner. So that's something that was a CC4CA initiative that, we just participated in, with me representing the town. And there may be other opportunities. There always are lots of opportunities like that, where CC4CA is asking for communities that are members to help them lobby either the Air Quality Board or Public Utilities Commission, the legislature, So there are a lot of opportunities for that kind of lobbying effort, and Erica and I can try to provide information where maybe SAB can be involved at least at a secondary level if people are interested.
Well, and Eldora is actually working with Protect Our Winters to lobby as well.
Right.
So,
Yeah, we certainly would, like to continue to partner with Eldora any way we can to twist arms.
I mean, for example, the fact that they decided not to expand the Renewable Connect program because of the expense. It's just,
Yeah. Yeah, that was really awful, an awful decision, I think, because it was so successful.
Yeah, and they kept leading us on like, we've signed so many letters of intent. Yes, we're in, we're in, we're in. And then they're like, oh, it's too expensive. We've decided not to do it. It's like, are you kidding me?
They just put out a requisition for proposals for solar out there. And, and they're buying a lot of wind,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not making those kinds of opportunities available to communities like ours.
Yeah.
Or, the ski area, you wanted to do 100%, you couldn't do it.
No, I mean, we're having to, I don't know, we might do a VP. Well, I don't know what we're going to do. We're trying to, I mean, it's still the goal. We're trying to make it happen. So I think, I don't know, Powder's looking into doing a VPPA with all the powder resorts. And so we would be included in that.
Oh, good. Yeah, I do think that in terms of homeowners, the sun share opportunity is a pretty good one. And we haven't had a chance to do as much publicity around that as we'd like.
That's a good point, Alan. I talked to them in like late September, October, and they were close to 80%. So they might not have much more left to buy.
Oh, really? They're running out of space, huh?
Yeah, I can circle back with them and see where they're at. But I think Garrett had touched base with them as well to see how many Nederland residents had signed up. So I'll do some digging, see what I can find.
Yeah, I've gotten some emails from them. I think, did they put an ad in the Mountaineer? I can't remember.
We did, and we threw their letter in the board packet. I think you all know, like, town can't really actively promote them because they're a private business and we can't be doing so. So that is where it gets a little tricky for them. As much as we want to get it out there, they really have to kind of get it out there on their own.
Yeah, so I mean, if there's still capacity left so people can get involved in that solar garden opportunity, it's very cost effective. And, maybe SAB can help publicize it. We can help publicize it.
I just found an email. It sounds like SunShare changed its platform. And so now whatever Excel pays someone for credit, that's what their bill is. So they're calling it free for life. So basically the credits that you get on your bill are exactly what they charge you. So you don't pay extra. And perhaps there's more to it, but it sounds like they have changed that platform, which should make it even easier for folks to sign up to SunShare.
Yeah, they were, giving a number like for an extra $20 per month, you can go 100% solar. And they're not, I don't think they're saying that anymore. So this credits thing is a little more mysterious, I think. Are you saying that they're saying it won't cost you anything additional?
It says, for example, if Excel issues a person $28.21 in bill credits 1 month, then that's exactly what that said person would pay SunShare for that month. So
Okay.
it's like a 1-for-1. It sounds like you're on this email chain as well, Alan, and it says as of November 10th there was only 2 Nederland subscribers.
Mhm.
Miranda, did they end up doing the mailers to PO boxes?
I don't think so.
Okay.
At least-
I'll
yeah, I mean, if they did, they may have pulled this data from the assessor's website because I never sent them anything.
okay.
Yeah, the last time I talked to their, I think she's called the national sales manager, she was, they were emphasizing going door to door to sell the program in other communities.
So since we are in a kind of tricky spot of being able to publicize a business like this, I think that's a great opportunity to take like information about Sunshare to Wild Bear and ask Wild Bear to share that out, because they can do what they want as a private organization. And maybe other businesses in town also would be willing to just have some information there, like the co-op, about Sunshare or about another opportunity down the road when we hear of another one. Maybe going at that strategy, taking some pamphlets around town, asking businesses to share that information so that we are not the people that are publicizing it. Does that make more sense, Miranda?
Yeah, I completely agree with that strategy. And we're happy to like share information, but exactly what you're saying, Melody, we really can't be pushing the message.
Yeah, and I think that's where Garrett was headed with it too. He wanted to partner with Wild Bear to promote it that way, and he was reaching out to Wild Bear to do that. I don't know how far he got, but he said Wild Bear was very receptive at the time. But that was at least a couple months ago.
Alan, this email that you and I are on with Garrett, Wild Bear's on the email chain. So I'm just gonna follow up real quick and just ask them what the status is and if they ever were able to send out the flyers and see what they say.
Okay.
Are there any other updates folks have? Anything that have come up in the last month around sustainability that would be good to chat about?
I can do a quick zero waste subcommittee update. If you guys are interested.
Yeah.
Yes, please, Hunter.
Okay, so we met on December 1st, and Miranda was nice enough to join the group and Macy and talk about just the protocol for replacing Garrett. I think everybody on the subcommittee was worried if we were still going to have a subcommittee and if we were still going to meet, and like so it was great to have Miranda come and talk everybody off the ledge. So thank you, Miranda, for that. She also gave us an update with Macy on the Green Business Program. We're compiling a zero waste action item list, and that's basically comprised of the Boulder County Zero Waste Action Plan goals and the Boulder County Zero Waste Scorecard. And so I sent that out to you guys. So if you could just take a look at it and let me know what your priorities are, then I could gather that information and then follow up with Melody. And I know we need to incorporate our local goals into that spreadsheet as well. As far as outreach and education, we had talked about doing a waste collection survey for businesses, but then we just decided with the Green Business Program being launched in January, that we were just going to put a pin in that. So we're not overwhelming the businesses with communication about zero waste. So we are working on welcome packages for new residents, working with realtors. Annette's compiling a list of landlords. And then Tanya has a zero waste directory that we're going to work from. Tanya and Cinda had a table at the holiday market December 3rd, just to increase awareness of the need for waste diversion in the community, and then to just offer some local resources. And she said that went really well. Brandy, Tanya, Larry, and Sarah from Wild Bear all worked shifts. They said that a lot of people stopped by and showed interest. So that was a success. What else? Cinda had met with, thank you, Erica, for your quick response on getting information on the composting in schools, because Cinda was going to write a grant that for December 20th, but then after talking, I think with Miranda, right? Am I wrong on this? That she found out that the mayor wanted to proceed with the larger infrastructure type facility. And so to just wait on that.
Yeah, and I can give an update. It sounds like when the biosolids facility was built, but down at wastewater, Chris actually incorporated into that review an assessment of being able to have composting there and like a true commercial composting site. And so we have the data we need to pursue that forward grant on a larger scale. And just in talking to different stakeholders, they just felt like don't apply for it for just a couple $1,000s. That grant is meant to fund your 10 plus, $100,000+ projects. And so I believe the next one's set to open summer 2022. And we plan to, as town staff, go forward with that grant to do a composting at wastewater. So more to come on that as we sort through it. But Cinda and Greg were both in support of us kind of pulling back because we don't want to forego our opportunity by trying to apply small scale and maybe having that hurt our chances for these larger grants. So they understood as long as there was going to be movement, and we do commit to doing so. Those of you who I did send an email, Chris Pelletier has resigned though, so of course we'll need to pick that up with the new person overseeing those different departments, which will be Jen Landon, overseeing utilities and those teams. So we need about 30 days to get our feet settled, but then we'll pick that up and get a solid grant application pulled together.
That's awesome. Thanks, Miranda. So our next Zero Waste Subcommittee meeting is January 5th at noon. It's open to whomever would like to join us. So let me know and I can send you the Zoom invite.
Hunter, will you send it to me again? For some reason, it ended up off my calendar. So
Yeah.
if you could forward it, that would be great.
Okay. Awesome. So that's all I have.
Thanks, Hunter. That's a lot.
Yeah,
Quick question.
good work.
Since we're losing Chris, Miranda, is there any plan to have a party or celebration or recognition?
Yeah, we're tentatively aiming, put it in your calendar, but it's not set yet, for Wednesday the 12th at 3 o'clock. Problem is that it may be that a bunch of us are tied up at a meeting, so that's why that's just tentative. But once I've landed on a date, I'll send that out to everyone.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And I guess I can just give an update on him, just so you all know. We do not intend to replace him at this time. We are actually going to break the department up into 3 separate departments, rather than having kind of one of these overarching managers who does it all, because finding another Chris is going to be impossible. Utilities will become its own independent department, parks will become its own department, and streets will become its own department. And we're actually going to let the leadership within each of those respective teams kind of step up and shine. And so Jen Landon will oversee utilities. We're actively hiring for that parks manager, but in the interim, Nikki will oversee that department. And then streets will be supported by Emmett Pelletier, but also Mark Hall will assist, who's an employee who's been with us just shy of a year. So I've talked this over with the Board of Trustees. It's of course not a very traditional structure, but the Public Works team does feel confident that they have the skills to really rise to the occasion and would like that opportunity to show that they can do so. So we're going to try that, and if it totally backfires, then we'll revisit and hire the appropriate personnel. But in working side by side with Public Works for the last couple of years, I feel very confident that the team that Chris has built is capable of stepping in and taking over where he leaves off. I don't know if there's questions about that.
Miranda, that just makes a lot of sense. I think when I first got the email that Chris was resigning, my first thought was like, how in the world do you replace this person who does it all and does it all so well? So that makes a lot of sense to give these other people an opportunity to step up. So
Yeah.
kudos to you guys for restructuring.
Many people actually don't know, when I was placed into the town administrator role, my first meeting with Chris, he submitted his intent to resign. Challenge was we didn't know at that time when his last day would be. It was very much dependent on selling his home. So I've actually known for 90 plus days, and we've been working really hard behind the scenes to get his team in a place where they could step in. So it's not like this is coming as a surprise to them either. They too knew Chris had intention to resign. We just didn't know when that date would come. But now it's sadly officially here. So when we know when the party is, we'll let you all know. And I guess one other plug for stuff is if you haven't come to get your popcorn or vegan cookies, please come by Town Hall. We have so much that we want to give people. So come by Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, except for this Friday, Thursday and Friday, and next Thursday and Friday.
You still have vegan cookies?
Oh, yes.
I'll
So
be there.
please, you better, but they're going fast, Alan. So sneak in quick.
I will.
I think that was all that was on your agenda, Melody and Laura. I don't know if there's more you want to discuss.
Melody, do you want to dismiss, or do you have anything else?
I got nothing else. We can adjourn the meeting at 8:41 p.m.
I just like to thank everybody for all the good work you've done. All the great work you did this past year. So thank you very much and happy holidays.
Thank you, Alan. Also, thank everybody. Happy holidays.
Thank you. You too.
Bye, everybody. We'll talk in 2022.
Another year. Have to be better than this year.
I think you're right, Alan.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Night.